welcome to Repta Crazy. Now, in honor of St. Patty's Day, I hope you like my filter here. Woo! Look at that gold. Anyway, guys, so today's video, I'm starting very early, hence the filter. I want to show you guys all of your basic bearded dragon care, setup, feeding, all that stuff. So we're going to be filming this video all day long. And first and foremost, the first thing I do is turn my lights on. You want to turn your lights on for your enclosures, and you're going to want to wait a good 2 hours for them to heat up, get their body temps up before feeding them. And I guess that's what I'll be videoing next, is feeding my bearded dragons. See you guys then. Good morning, Ash. Good morning, Tika. Hey, y'all, welcome back. So I went and got a little dolled up for y'all. You know, put my face on, even though it don't look too good because it's a rush job. But I went and got that done. And so we're going to start with your basic setup. God, my eyes look really dark. Like my eyeshadow wasn't meant to look that dark. But anyway, this isn't a makeup video. We're going to start with our basic bearded dragon setup, and then I'm going to go into more of the care for your bearded dragon. And we're going to use Mr. Ash today. We're going to use his setup. And I'm going to show you guys the things that you're going to need to start out with your bearded dragon. Now, my number one advice is research, research, research. You can never research enough before you get a reptile. And always, always, second, always make sure you have your setup before you get your reptile. Make sure those temps are correct and everything. Make sure you're going to have all the vitamins, calcium, feeders, all that stuff you need before you purchase your reptile. And then go out and get your reptile. So much easier that way than going to spending $400 or $500, because that's what it's going to cost you in one day to get your reptile and everything it needs. And third, do not listen to a pet store employee. I have seen one pet store employee that truly cared about the animal, and it was when I went to actually get my chameleon, and yes, I got it from a pet store. I don't like to buy from pet stores, especially big major corporations, but seldomly I will, if I see an animal that doesn't look like it's doing too well, and that's where I got my chameleon. He didn't look like he was doing too well, so I got him there, but she wanted to make sure that she had actually refused to sell to a girl who didn't have a setup, which I thought was amazingly awesome, because she wasn't just trying to get a sale. Sorry for that. But never listen to what they tell you to buy or the advice that they give you, because 95% of the time they're going by the guidelines that the store tell them to go by, and 100% of the time those are most of the time wrong. PetSmart and things like that have just now started using the UVB tube lights that are supposed to be used. Not all of them are, but some of them are, which is great. But they're sharing it between like 5 different enclosures. The enclosures are not appropriate size for the animals, and they're housing like 10 animals in I'm going to say like a 2x2 enclosure, which is crazy. But we're not even getting into that subject today. So Ash is sitting here all pretty waiting on us. He kind of poo-painted yesterday, guys, and I tried to get it up. He hasn't been fed today, but so I looked over his closure a little bit because it's a little messy, because I always clean their closures out and then I feed them of the mornings. His lights have only been on for an hour, so he's not yet ready to be fed. He's not warmed up enough. I usually wait about 2 hours, like I mentioned earlier, to feed them after lights on. Alright, so here is Ash. Alright, guys, so this is Ash. He is my Het Hypo Wet Blitz Het Zero. So he's pretty awesome dragon. I got him from Dustin Winan. If you've seen my videos before, I've talked all about them, and they're amazing dragons, and I'll be getting another one here soon from them, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm thinking of getting a Wet Blit, translucent Wet Blit, which are pretty incredible looking dragons. My dream dragon is a purple paradox, guys, and those are so rare and so expensive, but one day I will have one. Alright, guys, so let's start out with enclosure. So you're going to want a 4x2x2, or you're going to want minimum 40-gallon breeder. And this right here is a 40-gallon. Ash is still a juvenile. Now, I would go as far up as a 75-gallon. I think they're happy in those. I think those are big enough for them to have plenty of space to run around, and that's for adults. But even babies, the minimum you want is a 40-gallon breeder. Okay, guys? Do not go any smaller than that, even if Pet Stores tells you, well, they'll be okay in a 20-gallon until they grow a little. No, you want to start with a 40-gallon minimum. All right, and the next thing we're going to go over is your lighting. Okay, you'll see, now this is up here, this cage, is because we have had a terrible, let me show you, a terrible problem with ladybugs. You see how they're on top? Ladybugs are toxic to bearded dragons. They're wild. You never want them to eat them. So we built this cage because even the ones you can buy at the store, the hose were big enough for the ladybugs to get through. So we built this screen to go over Ash's enclosure so that the ladybugs could not get in, because we had a mishap with him eating one and had to give him activated charcoal and all that. And it was just absolutely terrible watching him to go through that. It broke my heart. Activated charcoal may be a lifesaver, but it severely dehydrates your animal, and they look like I thought he was dead at one point. They look like they're on death's door. So I immediately started giving him hornworms and dubia to get all that water back in there. I gave him water from a dripper, and he's doing a lot better. This was a couple months ago. But let's start with your lighting. Now you'll see my light up here. Okay. Now, this light is a 26 inches, I'm sorry, and it is a Reptisun 10.0, okay? Now, this is the kind of UVB light you want for your bearded dragon. Now, this has to be changed out every 6 months. If you go with an Arcadia 12%, you only have to change that out once a year. But also, your UVB needs to run 3/4 the size of your enclosure. So you see how long this is? This runs almost his whole length of his enclosure. So 99% of the time he's getting UVB, no matter where he is in his enclosure. Now this is my heat light, and that goes directly over him. And that is a good 10 inches above his head to make sure that he is not burnt or gets way too much heat. And it's about 105 degrees on his heat spot. You want your heat spot to be between 105 to 115, up in the higher temps for babies. And you want your cool side with your, gosh, this enclosure is a mess. You want your cool side with your hammock and all that stuff so they can get all the heat and all that. You want that around 85 to, I'm gonna say 80 to 90. You want that around 80 to 90 degrees. And I do have temperature and humidity gauges in here. This one has kind of failed, but you want to have humidity gauges because your humidity doesn't need to be over 40%. Mine usually stays around 15 to 20%. But bearded dragons do not need humidity. And people don't understand why they're keeping high humidity. And most of the time that's because you have a water bowl in there, which is not necessary because bearded dragons rarely drink. And if you just want to give them a little bit in a dropper every day, that's that's perfect, sufficient enough. Now let's talk about substrate. Substrate. You do not want to use any loose substrate with a bearded dragon. Now this is non-adhesive shelf liner. I got this at the dollar store. Got a big row for $5. I actually was able to do 2 enclosures with 1 row. And this is my favorite because I can just take it out, run it under some water, and it's perfectly clean. Easy to disinfect, easy to get stains out of. You can throw it away, buy some more. I also love tile. You can use paper towel, newspaper, anything along those lines, but no kind of loose substrate should you use. I don't care. Sand, calci sand is the worst. It should be banned because it has killed so many reptiles, because basically what it does is when it gets wet, it forms into a rock, and that gets stuck in the gut and causes impaction. You do not at all ever want to use calci sand with any of your reptiles under any conditions. Alright, so we have covered, alright, with your enclosure, if you have glass enclosure like I do, you're going to want to cover the 3 sides. These 3 sides you're going to want to cover because they do not like to see the reflection. If they see the reflection, they're going, Blackbeard is going to cause them stress at all times. So you're going to want to cover the 3 sides. And if you have other bearded dragons in the room, which I do, but none of my bearded dragons are faced so they can see each other, you're going to want to make sure of that. You're going to want to make sure they can't see each other because they will be stressed out all the time. Let's see, what else do we need to go over? I think we've done temps, we've done humidity, we've done substrate, we've done lighting. Okay, so if your house gets below 65 degrees at night, you're going to want to use a Qi. Now, I don't have the Qi hooked up right now, but basically I put it in one of these lights, the lamps, and this lamp has a dimmer on it so I control how hot that it gets in there. And I have a 100-watt light bulb in here. And I just turn it to the point to where I've got a good 105 degrees here. So that's pretty awesome. And so it's really great. You can get these on Amazon for like $5 for the whole set. And then the lights I use, you can get them at the Dollar Tree for $1. The floodlights, you don't want to get the LED. LED do not put out any heat. But you can get these incandescent floodlights, and they work just fine for a heat light for your reptile. You can get a lot of your decorations. You want to have something, especially if you have a male, rough for them to rub on because of their femoral pores. You don't want them to get clogged, and if they have something rough to rub on, that's going to help those from not being clogged. Sorry, guys. All right, I believe we have went over the basic setup for your bearded dragon. We've went over substrate. We've went over, well, let's go over some things you need to put. So first of all, you're going to have a basking spot. Now, I actually got this rock from outside, but I baked it at 250 degrees for 30 minutes to get rid of any parasites, any bugs, or anything that was on this rock. He's actually broke his bridge, but we built these at CK Designs. We also do the hidey hammocks. He's kind of tore his hidey hammock down also. Like, I left for one day, and this is what he done. At CK Design. So I have a lot of basking stuff on this side. I also have a few cool little trinkets. You know, I had more in here, but he just wasn't happy with it, so I took it out and gave him more running room. And I have his hammock that he can hide in on the cool side. You can also have a hammock on the warm side as a basking spot. I also do the swinging ridges. They love those. They love to climb on those and just bask and feel all good. Alright, next thing we're going to get on to is care, which I've already started this morning by telling you guys when you start turning on your lights in the morning, you want to turn them as soon as you wake up. Best thing to do is get them on a timer. That way they turn on and off. You want them on 12 hours, off 12 hours. You do not want no kind of colored lights or anything like that. You don't want none of the UVB bulbs. Those suck. They do not get no UV from those. They can actually be dangerous. The spiral ones can. But a timer is great because they can say turn on at 7 a.m., go off at 7 p.m., and they've got that exact 12 hours. So you don't have to worry about being home to turn on or off their lights. Mine come on at 7 a.m. and they go off at 7 p.m. Also, guys, you'll want to do a fecal every 6 months. To make sure they don't have no parasites or anything like that. You want to do a checkup once a year. And you want to do fecals anytime there is any signs of brumation, because the brumation and parasites can mimic the same symptoms. Alright, so let's get on to feeding, and I will be right back. Hey guys, and welcome back to Repta Crazy. Today is a new day, and we're going to continue talking about the care of your bearded dragon. Now, we're going to continue with feeding. This is my girl Tika. She is my female bearded dragon. She is a hypo red normal back bearded dragon with blue bars. She's a beautiful girl. Alright guys, so basic feeding tips. Alright guys, you never want to feed anything that is bigger than the space between their eyes on your bugs. You're going to do, and this is with your babies, your adults, and your juveniles, You're going to want to dust with calcium and calcium plus D3. You'll rotate those, and you'll also do a multivitamin. Now, you can also get Repashy Calcium Plus, and that has everything you're going to need in it, and that's all you'll have to put in it. You won't have to worry about rotating or giving several different kinds. And it's actually what I recommend. With babies, you will feed them the ratio of 80% bugs, 20% greens. With juveniles, it's 50% bugs, 50% greens. And with adults, it's 80% greens and 20% bugs. Always keep a fresh salad in their enclosure, even if they don't eat it. You want to offer it. You want to make sure you do their last feeding 2 hours before lights out. That way they have time to digest their food. Now let's start with babies. With a baby, you want to give them 3 servings of feeder bugs a day. And you want to let them eat all they can eat within a 15-minute time period. Once they're done, take it out, feed them again. You're going to feed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now with your juvenile, you want to go down to about, I went down with Tika, I went down to 2 servings of bugs a day. And I also lessened the amount of bugs. I started doing a 7-minute time period instead of a 15-minute time period. And as you can see, she's very healthy and is a very good-looking bearded dragon. She's checking out these super worms that are over here in her enclosure. Yeah, that's where she's wanting to go. All right. Of course, again, you want to make sure that they are eating salad. And the thing I do is I always give the salad about an hour before I give any feeders. That way they're going to eat some of their salad before they get their feeders. Now, with an adult, like I said, you're going to go down 20% on your feeders. And as it has seemed, the older they get, the cheaper it is to supply their food. But you'll only feed your adult feeders every 3 days, and they'll only get their calcium and stuff every 3 days. Now, I give my bearded dragons I dust their feeders with Beanback once a week, and I do this on the day that all of my bearded dragons are fed, because Beanback is an awesome probiotic with awesome nutrients and vitamins in it that are good for your reptile. Now, as far as water, bearded dragons do not drink much water at all. If you want to fill a small dropper up full of water and just drop it on their nose, they'll lick that off most of the time, and that is sufficient enough water for them. You can also put them in a little bath, not over the back, make sure it doesn't go over the shoulders, and let them drink some water. I wanted to pop in here and add that putting a water bowl in your bearded dragon's enclosure is absolutely not necessary and can actually cause an upper respiratory infection. Now, as far as bathing your bearded dragon, there's different views on bathing your bearded dragon. When you put your bearded dragon in water, in warm water, it contracts their stomach, which makes them use the bathroom. So if you've just fed them, they're going to lose all those nutrients because they're not allowed to properly digest their food. So I recommend only bathing your bearded dragons if they're dehydrated, if they have went 2 weeks or more without using the restroom, or or if they're dirty. If they are absolutely nasty, if they've poo painted, it's perfectly fine to give a bath. I would also wait a couple hours if they've been fed. I would wait a couple hours after they're feeding so they have time to properly digest their food. Guys, I wanted to add that your water should not be above the shoulders. They should be able to touch the bottom, and it should not be above 95 degrees. Now let's talk about cleaning your enclosure. I spot clean my enclosure daily. I'm sure it don't look like it right now because it's very early and we just haven't got around to it this morning, but we will. I spot clean my enclosures daily, and then I go in weekly and give them a good wipe down And every 2 weeks, I go in for a deep clean, which I usually clean with ammonia, but I rinse the crap out of them. And I air them out for a few hours before putting my animal back in. Or you can use F14, which is also great to use. And I recommend doing that at the least every 2 weeks. Alright guys, you're also going to want to keep an eye on how often your bearded dragon goes to the bathroom. If they haven't went to the bathroom in over 2 weeks, you want to go to a vet. Make sure they haven't got any kind of infection from anything. That's something to definitely worry about and something to keep an eye on. They do not like to be around other bearded dragons. They should never be cohabbed with any other reptile or bearded dragons. You should never have them around any other pets. If you have a cat or a dog, you should lock them up in another room while having your bearded dragon out. Never have them out together, even if anything has never happened. Even if they are great together, it only takes one instance for something bad to happen, and you don't want to lose your bearded dragon. Just cat saliva is dangerous to a bearded dragon. So you absolutely do not want to have your other animals around your bearded dragon, even another bearded dragon. You don't want to cohab. That's a big no-no. If you have a male and a female together, he's always going to dominate her, and he's actually going to breed her to death. 2 males are going to fight. They are going to fight over resources. They're going to fight over heat. They're going to fight over food. They are going to try to dominate one another. It's going to be a bad situation. 2 females, they're still going to fight over resources, heat, food, all of that. One is going to dominate the other in any situation. So cohabbing is a really bad idea. Now, you spending time with your dragon is perfectly okay as long as your floor is clear of anything that they can eat, to let your dragon out and let them explore around your home, especially in areas that you spend a lot of time in. That way you can watch them. It's great for you to spend time holding your bearded dragon, getting them used to you, giving them some cuddles. They do like to be cuddled, and the only friend they need is us. They don't need another bearded dragon or a cat or a dog or a turtle or anything. They just need us. So they are solitary creatures, but they do love humans, and they do love to socialize with humans. So spend time with your bearded dragon. At least try to spend 15 minutes a day or every 2 days with your bearded dragon, because if you don't, they are not going to be used to being held, and they could start to get a little antisocial, such as gaping or trying to bite you when you go to hold them. Alright guys, something else I wanted to go over with you is bringing your bearded dragon home. Now, when you first bring your bearded dragon home, you're not going to want to be taking them out, handling them, bothering them right away. You want to give them a good 2 weeks. Some people say a week. I like to give them a good 2 weeks to acclimate to their enclosure, get used to their surroundings. Make sure you put their enclosure in an area that you spend a lot of time in. You can even sit beside their enclosure and speak to them, getting them used to your presence. Try hand feeding them at first to get them used to your hands. That way you earn their trust and they know that you're not going to hurt them. And then after a couple of weeks, once they're used to being there, once they're used to having you around, then slowly try holding your reptile. You do not, if they're showing any warning signs of being stressed, such as a black beard or gaping, back off and take it a little slower. It took us a good 3 months to get this guy used to holding us. To get this guy used to being held and not opening his mouth and trying to bite us when we go to hold him. So let your animal go at its own pace. Don't rush it. And I promise all the hard work and everything will pay off. Well, as far as I know, guys, we have covered absolutely everything that you need to know starting out with your bearded dragon. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to comment below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your post notifications so that you are notified anytime we upload one of our videos. Make sure you give Tika here some love and give Ash some love for appearing in our video today. Tune in to our having enough supplies for your reptiles during the COVID crisis video. That's something you guys really need to check out. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, follow our Facebook page, follow us on Snapchat, check us out on TikTok, and join our Facebook group. All of those links will be listed below. Thank you guys so much for all your support and for just being the awesome you that you are. You are absolutely beautiful. You are amazing. Don't let anybody tell you any different. You guys have a wonderful day. We love you guys.